guys? Back at it. Fantasy Blueprint Week 3. Uh, got a little bit to cover this week, but starting off, going to take a little deep brief on Week 2. Studs and duds of Week 2. Gabe, I'll let you start us off, brother.
Well, so let's start out with some of the studs here. The spreadsheet had a couple. I'll mention Brees Hall. He ended up playing well against Titans. I was kind of surprised. I thought maybe they'd be able to shut him down, but his receiving value is untouchable. Like he's gonna get catches from Aaron Rodgers. A couple that we mentioned. Britton mentioned Malik Neighbors. He hit. I think you had Malik Neighbors. I had Metcalf. He hit. Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason was a good one. Jack Charbonnet hit. J.K. Dobbins was like one we were kind of skeptical about, but he did. He went off. He did
He's
good.
a stud right now.
Yeah, and then in my lineup, I had Marvin Harrison. And I got a couple sideways looks, baby, and he paid off.
At 30.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, your studs also do not come without your share of duds. And I got to take this one on the chin. Pause. Cooper Kupp, he got hurt. Straight up to Demarcus Robinson. That game was weird. The Cardinals got up early, and the Rams just never got anything going. So everybody that we mentioned there was just down. Yeah. Colby Parkinson. Look, had Parkinson's on the field, couldn't catch nothing. Jordan Akins and Justin Fields ended up doing. It was a tough day for some of the value plays, but we did hit some. Wasn't the best weekend, but we did all right. Ended up evening out again. I mean, if you put enough entries in, you'll win something. So.
That's true. My biggest dud of the weekend was definitely Lazard. Wow.
Lazard hitting a dud tonight though. He's playing good.
Yeah, I think he had one catch for 11 yards. So, big swing and miss on me, on my part for sure. But I will say this:
touchdown, Garrett Wilson.
I did see that.
You got Garrett Wilson.
Danny Dimes though.
Danny Dimes.
Stud. I'm just kidding. But here's we've got 2 weeks of information now. 2 weeks of information, and I just want to. I want you to. I did a little bit of research this week, and I'm curious if you can guess where these players rank so far in fantasy output. Okay.
All right.
And this is based off of. So I've got a list of quarterbacks 1 through 30, receivers 1 through 10, running backs 1 through 10, and tight ends 1 through 10. So we're just gonna just a quick observation of the landscape right now.
So out of 32 though, each one, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the only one I have the full 32 for is quarterbacks.
It's quarterback. Okay.
Yeah. So Patrick Mahomes. Where does he fall?
I'm gonna say 30th. Only in front of Bryce Young and Caleb Williams.
He's not that bad. He's outside of the top 10. He's at 12. All right.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't. He's had a good couple weeks. I'm kind of surprised he's only at 12.
Yeah.
That kind of surprises me.
At 12. All right.
That really speaks to how bad the quarterbacks are.
I know.
All right.
Seriously, wait till you hear this top 3. Josh Allen.
He's gonna be 9.
7 outside of the top 5.
Okay. All right.
Outside of the top 5. Good guess. Here's your top 3 fantasy producing quarterbacks after 2
Let
weeks.
me guess. Hold on. Let me guess.
All right.
Kyler Murray. Is it going to be 1? I'm not in no particular order. No, not okay.
He's
Top
number
3. I'll go quick. Top 3 producing quarterbacks. You're gonna have. Wait, I can't go quick. Nah, I give up. Go ahead. Give me the answers.
Baker Mayfield, number 1.
Oh yeah, how did I get that one?
Derek Carr, number 2.
Yeah, dude.
Jalen
How do I not
Hurts,
get the?
number 3?
Yeah. Okay.
So
Makes
that's your
sense.
top 3 quarterbacks right now, and 2 of them, Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr, nobody would have on that list in their top 10.
That's true. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
wild first 2 weeks for them.
Wild first 2
All right.
weeks.
Transition running backs. Alvin Kamara is obviously number 1 after a 45-point stud performance. But can you name 2 and 3?
J.K. Dobbins And Davon A-Chain.
A-Chan's number
A-Chan?
2. He's number
Yeah,
2.
A-Chan, number 2.
Saquon Barkley's number 3.
Saquon 3. I was going to say Ramondre Stevenson. He had a good couple first weeks. But,
Yeah.
okay.
Saquon 3. Receivers. Now this list is going to blow your mind. I just want you to take a stab. Give me one in the top 3. And let me just clarify. It's not Justin Jefferson. It's not Jamar Chase.
I know. I'm thinking.
The 2 that would come to your mind.
I mean, Metcalf had such a good week last week, but he dudded the first week. So, like, it's not him.
Not in. Yep, not in.
Man, this is tough. Dude, I don't know.
Number 1, Chris Godwin.
Oh, yeah,
Chris
okay.
Godwin's number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, Nico Collins.
Yep.
And
Nico
number
Collins.
3, Malik Neighbors.
Big neighbors.
Interesting.
I was trashing him, but yeah, he's good.
And here's where the tight end stat's going to blow your mind. There are 6 tight ends in the entire league that are averaging more than 10 points a game in fantasy. Only 6.
Oh, dang.
And just for your information, Travis Kelce is averaging a whopping 4
Yeah.
points a game.
Say it's not Travis Kelce.
Definitely not Travis Kelce. But number 1, Isaiah Likely, still feasting off that first performance in week 1. 2,
Yeah.
rookie.
Brock Bowers,
Brock
baby.
Bowers.
We were talking about him. I like
Yeah.
Bowers.
Brock Bowers, and then number 3, George Kittle. And the
George
only other
Kittle.
3, guys that are averaging double-digit points through 2 weeks is Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, and then I can't read my handwriting, so I don't know who the last guy is. My bad.
No, you're good.
But just kind of a wild, it'll even out, I'm sure. But these first 2 weeks have been, you want to talk about values that have been out there. You look at these top lists of every position, and none of those guys really, outside of maybe the running backs with A-Chan and Kamara and Saquon Barkley.
Oh, yeah,
Everything
so
else is
Mason. Yeah.
Yeah, so everything
So
else.
Jordan
is
Mason was outside of the top 3. Jordan Mason
Yeah,
was?
Jordan Mason
Like-
is number 7.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so kind of crazy to think about, just kind of all over the place, and that I think that shows the point that there's value to be had, and that kind of leads us into week 3, right? Week 3, you're searching the landscape, kind of seeing what's out there. You're looking for value on your board. Do you have any value that you see for week 3?
I hate to say this, but Sam Darnold's making me take a second look at him on the list of players. I'm starting to buy into some of the Sam Darnold hype. That he's had 2 decent weeks. I'm like, man, if he could pop off, he's still really cheap at $5,300. I think like he's not really expensive. The next couple quarterbacks is Deshaun Watson. I hate to do it, 5,500 with how he's playing, but they're playing the Giants, I think, and I'm like, I really like the Giants matchup. And then after that, Gardner Minshew, 5,300, and then my player that I'm gonna start on a lot of teams, and it's probably gonna get a lot of hate, but it's Andy Dalton, 4,800. I feel like he's a veteran. He's used to playing NFL competition. I feel like he's gonna get the ball to those receivers, and if it gets out of hand early, he'll just get some garbage time points. And then my last one is, if you're feeling dangerous, Matt Stafford with the depleted receiving core against San Fran. If you're feeling dangerous, he could get you some garbage time points too.
We'll get into Matt Stafford in a minute for me, but he is not on my value list for this week.
It was a dangerous, man. It was a dangerous. It's the cheapest he's been since the season started. So
Yeah.
that's the only reason I'm thinking maybe.
Yeah. Outside of quarterbacks, I think for me, the quarterbacks I find value right now. I think we kind of alluded to it too earlier. Derek Carr, under 6,000, sitting at 5,800. He's going to take some shots. He's going to throw some touchdowns. I like that value. Under 6,000, you can get him kind of lower tier quarterback still. So I still think there's value in that. And then also, I think that you alluded to it earlier, but Gardner Minshew, the Raiders have struggled to run the ball this year, and he's letting it fly. I mean, they're
Yeah.
throwing that thing, so I can definitely see at 5,300. That's extreme value to me. So
He's getting more
those are kind of
comfortable
my
too.
yeah. He's
Yeah, like
starting.
he's
He's
in Brock
starting to play like
Bowers
that,
and Adams. Yeah.
playing that
Yeah.
Washington State
Yeah, he's getting
Gardner baby.
comfortable. Letting it
Um,
loose.
yeah, it looks good. I mean, it looks better
Yeah.
than it has. I would have never picked Gardner Minshew, but he's starting to play a little bit better, and the value's there for me. So,
Yeah.
outside of QBs, give me a quick rundown running backs value wise. What do you have?
Yep. So obviously Jordan Mason, he's still in the 6,000
Six thousand
range.
two
I mean,
hundred. Yeah.
I don't see how they can. The last 2 weeks he's put up, I think, 19 and 18, or maybe more than that, and he's still.
Mm-hmm.
That's like almost like a solid floor in that offense with how much they run the ball. With Kenneth Walker still questionable, Zach Charbonnet 6,000, about the
Yeah.
same price he was last week. So you're basically just
Yeah.
getting a re up on that. I like that a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Also,
Yep.
Britain, I've got to say it. Javonte Williams last week, he took over the backfield, 5,400.
He did. I actually was going to give you some props. He did play a lot better last week. Week 1, he stunk. He was definitely a dud. But this week, or second week, week 2, he's done a lot better.
Yeah.
So hopefully that trend continues and you can find value in his cheap price right now.
My play to watch this week is Joe Mixon at 6,900 because he's hurt right now, and also the guy behind him, Damian Pierce, is hurt as well, and he didn't practice, which leaves Cam Akers at 4,700 as the lead back if Mixon and Pierce both don't play. So that's a absolute must start playing if both those guys are ruled out
Both those guys are out. Yeah.
in that offense. Yeah, and then just as like some high value or not high value, some high salaried running backs with good matchups. Kamara, 7,500 in that offense. All the catches against Philly, whose defense isn't menacing, so I don't have a problem with that. Rashad White, 6,300. And another guy to watch with the injury. He was questionable. He's got a groin injury. And if he doesn't play, Bucky Irving, his backup's 5,100, and that's another one. So
Yeah.
that's my running backs there. The guys I'm trying to look to build around.
Yeah. And Cam Akers is sitting at 4,700, and Bucky Irving sitting at 5,100. So if those guys
Yeah.
do go down, definitely have some high value there at a cheap price for sure. The only running back that I really kind of had on my list just as a must start is Jordan Mason. At 6,200, they've been running him, and he's been doing great. I think he's still got a lot of value at a low price. And then receivers, any value that you see out there on receivers?
Yep, the 49ers with Debo getting hurt and Kittle now being questionable this week leaves a
Yeah.
lot of room in that receiving room.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to start either Ayuk or Jawan Jennings
Yeah.
on all your teams. One of those guys has to be in there because of the matchup against the Rams and their corners.
Yeah.
Ayuk could probably draw a lot of the shades from the DBs, and Jennings could pop off, but still, I think at 6,200, too good of a value for Ayuk to pass up. That's the number one. And speaking of that game as well, Tutu Atwell for the Rams is now going to have to step up, and he's 4,300. He gets involved ground and air, both facets of the game. And then I'll let Britton talk on some of these. I bet he has some of these, but the stack that I'm targeting with Andy Dalton is Deontay Johnson, 4,900. Thielen's great. He's 5,000, just $100 more than Deontay Johnson, but I feel like those legs aren't as spry as Deontay, so I trust Johnson more to get loose than Thielen on a long touchdown or somewhere in the slot. So I like Johnson in that matchup.
I like it. I had Tutu Atwell as well, 4,300 wide receiver 2. And they're going to sling that thing around, or at least try to with Stafford. So I feel like the value's there. He's a little shifty, got some speed. I could see them taking some shots over the top with him.
Yeah.
So if he hits on one of those, kind of like that Rashid Shaheed deal. You hit one deep ball. I mean, you're in the money already with him. So that was kind of my highlight for receivers. I just feel like that's a great value at a wide receiver 2 at 4,300.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blowout too. I mean, that game's gonna.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll get out of hand with the Rams being so depleted. And if you like Kyron Williams going back to running backs, I mean, he's the best player in their offense now, and he's going to get a lot of targets. They're going to have to involve him in the pass game because they're going to be down a lot.
100%.
So
He's the best player on the
uh,
field for him.
the only other thing I had to mention was what the Cleveland playing the Giants. Either Cooper or Jerry Jeudy, one of them is going to pop off. Like at some point with Deshaun, one of them is going to have a good game and establish himself as one of the go-to guy. I don't know who it's going to be. Cooper's obviously had a better career than Jeudy, but Judy's younger and probably faster at this point. I like stacking maybe one of them with Deshaun in that game.
Yeah.
They're kind of splitting the running back carries in Cleveland right now between Ford and Foreman now, Dante Foreman. So I don't really like the running back picks as much now. So that's why I'm kind of leaning more towards hoping that they can get the pass game going, because I think what I've heard is that they're trying to pass the ball more in Cleveland than they were with the previous offensive regime they had. Yeah. And then the last two higher salaried plays, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8,200, really low floor against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
He did a really good game last week, so that's another one I'm watching. And Olave, he's kind of in the middle. He's not really a fantastic value going against Philly, but number one, and he's a top 25 pick in fantasy, priced below a lot of other receivers. So
Yeah. I had Chris
like
Olave
that.
on my list as well. I think 6,300 is a decent deal for him as wide receiver one. Derek Carr's playing really well, and Olave had a much better week 2 than he did week 1. So I could definitely see him getting some good targets and hopefully get in the end zone. And at 6,300, that's pretty good value there to me. Tight ends, dude. I mean, holy crap! I have no idea where to go.
Dude, I don't have any
Tight
clue.
ends. I mean, I guess you just go value here and just see if you can get
Yeah,
lucky, because these tight ends this year have been terrible.
The only
Terrible
thing
for
I can,
fantasy.
the only tight end I really trust, I mean, Kittle and Laporta, like those guys they've proven to be good players, but they haven't really popped off and been consistent.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to risk paying the price. The only one that they're most consistent, like you said, is Brock Bowers. He scored over 10 points in the last 2 games. So I kind of lean towards him if I'm going to pick an expensive one. I think the best value, like we said, is Kittle questionable. Eric Saubert saw 2 targets last week with Kittle healthy. So I imagine if Kittle's rolled out, he's at 2,500. So that's the minimum price for a tight end. And if he's the number one tight end in that matchup, that's a good spot.
That's definitely somebody to watch. Well, remind me the name again, because I have no idea who that guy is.
Oh, dude, I have no idea too. I had to check this list and make sure I said it right. Eric Saubert. I could be mispronouncing it, but
Okay.
Saubert, Saubert.
Yeah. So that's something
Sounds
that
like
we'll
Saubert to me.
definitely. We're recording on Thursdays, talk about the afternoon games, but if Kittle gets listed as an out, he's not playing. That's definitely one we'll come back circle to and highlight, because Brock Purdy's got to throw the ball to somebody. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's some value there at 2,500. Holy crap, that's cheap.
It's cheap, man. You do a lot with that.
Yeah, and I do like the Brock Bowers. I mean, 5,400, it's not terrible. It's obvious that Minshew's going to him a decent amount, likes him. And he's special talent. We saw that at Georgia. So 5,400 is not too bad. Also, Aaron Rodgers just got absolutely rocked.
Really?
Yeah.
Get him some of that ayahuasca after the game. He's gonna need it for that one.
Golly, he got rocked, bro.
The other tight end that I was talking about was Jordan Akins. I know he didn't play well last week, but
kind
he's
of a
still the
dud
number
last
one
week.
there. Yeah, he's still the number one tight end with Njoku if he's out. And I just don't. They're gonna have to throw the ball around against the Giants, and he's got a 9-point projection. That's 3 catches for 60 yards. Could he get that? And if he gets a touchdown, he's already there pretty much. So
Yeah.
I like that one.
Exactly. I still haven't really lost faith in Mark Andrews. I feel like he's
Yeah.
it went up. The trend went up a little bit last week. Wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. He's sitting at 4,800 salary.
It's cheap for Mark Andrews, dude. I don't think he's ever
Yeah.
been that low before. That's probably the lowest he's ever been.
Right, and that's where I could see some value, because he's a good player. It's just a matter of can it get going finally. So I think that he's got some value potentially, just because he's been good in the past. He's getting healthier. He's getting more reps underneath his belt. I could definitely see him continue to trend up. Now, will he trend up enough to make that $4,800 salary worth it? I don't know. But if you're looking for value, maybe you could look towards him for sure. But kind of shifting gears here, we kind of talked about the value. But we love this segment, the no touchy segment, right? Is there players out there that you are absolutely avoiding in week 3? So week 2, just as a reminder, we said avoid all Green Bay receivers. I got a stat for you. Green Bay had 12 receptions total. Malik
Total.
Willis completed 12 passes at Green Bay. Now he did throw a touchdown pass. I can't remember who it was. So that receiver was probably
Yeah,
fine.
maybe. Yeah.
But I'm out again on Green Bay. I want no part of it. So week 3 continues where we left off in week 2. No touchy for Green Bay receivers for me.
Yep.
And then kind of continuing on that path, I'm out on Stafford.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
out.
Alan
I'm out this
Stafford. All
week. I
right.
had to play him last week in my season-long
Yeah.
fantasy, and he did. I mean, what can you do when Puka and Cooper are out? I mean, there's not a lot of
Get
options.
sacked.
Yeah,
Get sacked.
I'm out on Stafford this week for sure. Now he
Oh,
could
yeah.
turn around and light it up, and I'm gonna regret my words. But I'm out on
The
Stafford.
only
I'm out on
reason,
receivers.
yeah, the only reason I'd say Stafford is just because I love finding quarterbacks in games where there's a blowout, and then
Yeah,
the defense just comes out there and lets them sling it around for two and a
yeah,
half quarters, and then it's just
true.
that's the only thing I'm hoping it happens if I play him.
Yeah, they're playing against San Francisco, so I'm a little bit worried
I
about that. But
Yeah.
I'm out on him. Sounds like you like it, but I'm out.
I don't know. I wouldn't use the word like. I say I favor him. Maybe I don't
Yeah,
in the like category. I have 4 or 5 other options I would go before that. It's more of
yeah.
a, do you want to separate yourself from everybody else? Kind of like a Daniel Jones type situation. Like, do you want to play that guy?
Oh yeah, baby.
Shout out to Britain.
Shout out.
The other note. So I'm gonna give a recap on my no touch from last week with Justin Jefferson.
Hmm.
Uh, he did catch a 97-yard touchdown, and that accounted for 25% of his catches for the game. He only had 4 catches. He had 133 yards and a touchdown. I think that's a 26. That's about 26 points, and his
Yeah,
salary was somewhere around 8,700. So that is a
yeah.
little bit, maybe a point or two above his projection, and he had 133 yards and a touchdown. So I mean, he has a low floor. I mean, it's just Jefferson. Like 15 points is what you're going to get pretty much every week, but.
Yeah.
If you have that salary to spend, he's not a bad pick. And then, like I said, I'm kind of now he's almost off the no touchy list because of Sam Darnold. It wasn't Justin Jefferson's talent; it was 1,000% Sam Darnold.
Same
But I'm
again.
starting to come around with Sam Darnold now after the last 2 weeks. Once in an update, Travis Kelce stinks. It's okay, we'll move on past.
No touchy, Travis.
No touchy. He's not playing this week on this slate at least. He's not on it,
Yeah.
so don't have to worry about that. My new no touchies. I'm out on the Miami receivers until I see Skylar Thompson do something. One, I'm out on Tyreek because he's too expensive, and I mean he's very possible he breaks a couple long touchdowns. But I can't remember who the Dolphins are playing off the top of my head.
I got you.
Uh,
They're
who are they
playing
playing?
Seattle.
I see that's a tough one. Seattle's ball control.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: no touchy for me is DK Metcalf. I give that man a 1.5 quarters before he gets ejected for fighting Jalen Ramsey. That's
No doubt.
1,000% coming. That's coming
Definitely
this
gonna
week.
happen. Yeah.
If y'all don't know, do your DK Metcalf history search, and he'll
Yeah.
give you about 1.5 quarters and get some of these cornerbacks, and he'll start throwing punches and get ejected. So
No
be
doubt.
careful with the Metcalf this week because it could get
It's
ugly.
coming. He's gonna get
Yeah,
baited
and then
into it.
exactly. He has a short temper when it comes to Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
Uh, Jalen Waddle, I just the first week I started him, he got hurt,
Yeah.
and it's hard for me to sometimes it's hard for me to trust Jalen Waddle because of that. I trust
Mm.
him even less to get hurt and with Skylar Thompson. So
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of those guys. Achan I'm not out on yet just because of the dump offs. I trust the quarterback to dump it off more than I trust him to get the ball down the field. So that's
Yeah.
my
I agree.
no touchies.
I agree. Absolutely. That was kind of the biggest thing for me. It's just a reminder: don't touch Green Bay receivers with Malik Willis at quarterback. Although I did hear
Yeah,
that Jordan Love did return to practice this week, so
yeah, I
if
saw
he
that too.
finds a way on the field, then you can kind of reevaluate your
Hmm.
Green Bay receivers.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm out. Don't want any part of them. Malik Willis, seen
Hmm.
enough. Don't want it.
Me too. Agreed.
But kind of moving into our spreadsheet, right? Or really your spreadsheet that you
Yeah.
created. Um, Based off the spreadsheet again, if you've been following with us the last couple weeks, right? We go um, three running back list, four receiver list, and two tight end list. And based off the spreadsheet this week, Gabe, can you give us kind of a breakdown of the differences between each? And we're
Yep.
going to throw that up on our TikTok channel as well so you can see that. But just give us a little bit of a breakdown here.
Yeah. So the optimal lineup this week for the three running backs is Kyler Murray as quarterback, Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet, two running backs, Devontae Smith with AJ Brown, I think going to be out this week with a hamstring, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Johnny Munt for the Vikings, a very very risky play there at tight end.
Yeah. Don't
Spreadsheet
love it.
likes it. This is where the spreadsheet's different than the actual
Yeah.
person. They're more like artificial intelligence based. Take
Yep.
that what
Yep.
you will. Javante Williams in the flex spot, and then the Buccaneers
Yep.
defense. Your four wide receivers, you got the same first five. Where you get your separation is you got Tank Dell as your third receiver, Mark Andrews as your tight end, Tyler Johnson, Rams receiver in your flex, and then Buccaneers defense. And then for your two tight ends, they give you the same five: Kyler Murray, Mason, Charbonnet, Smith, Olave. Then they give you Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Johnny Munt, and the Titans defense. And all these projected scores are really, really close.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like starting three players from the same team with
Mm-hmm.
Mason, Kittle, and Ayuk. The reason
Yeah.
for that is the reason the spreadsheet picked that is because they're all projected a high amount of points. So one of them had to produce, so they're projecting them all fairly decent totals. So that's the three optimal lineups from that the spreadsheet generated.
Yeah, and they're all three of those are within 2 points of each other. I think one's at 137, one's at 136, and one's at 135.
Yep.
So they're all relatively close. You probably can't go wrong with either one. I worry a little bit about that Mont pick. It's just
I'm
I
out
don't
on mine.
know.
I'm not. Yeah.
So I felt like tight end from the Browns last week,
Akins. Yeah.
Akins
Akins. Yeah.
scared me off a little bit of those super low tight end values. But maybe they'll turn around this week. But kind of looking towards like that's the spreadsheet. That's what it gives us, right? But then we have our own eye test and we kind of shift things around, right? So based off of what you're seeing, kind of what does your optimal lineup look like this week?
Yeah. Devontae Smith I kind of forgot that AJ Brown was hurt going into this week.
Yeah.
So looking at Devontae Smith at 6,900, that kind of makes me rethink what I want to do this week. But right now, the lineup that I'm most confident when I'm rolling out, I'm going Gardner Minshew, Jordan Mason, Rashad White, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Olave, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going Akins, Charbonnet, and I'm going back to the well with the Titans defense against old Malik Willis, old Titans quarterback.
Great
One
pick.
one thing I, one thing I didn't give you was my lineup locks for this
Yes.
week. I kind of went against in this lineup what I really was saying lineup locks are. Besides, I got Jordan Mason as my. I'm saying I'm pretty much starting him in every lineup. And then if Cam Akers is playing, he'll be in
Yeah.
here.
Absolutely.
Jawan Jennings or Ayuk, exchangeable, whichever one you like the most in that one. Then I don't have Tutu Atwell in this lineup, but could very easily exchange one of these guys and maybe bump up my quarterback pick, maybe to like Kyler
Yeah.
Murray or Anthony Richardson for their rushing potential. But that's my team. Those are my four lineup locks.
I love it. Dude, I'll be honest with you, this is where this podcast is going to break down completely. Because when I tell you I was shook walking through this stuff this afternoon, I spent too long thinking about this to the point where I'm still second guessing myself now. So my lineup right here, it could be brutal. But
Let me
my
hear it.
optimal lineup, my lock for this week, I'm going Derek Carr, and I'm pairing him with Chris Olave at receiver. Hopefully we're capitalizing on both those points. I get double points with them. Got Jordan Mason as my running back, Zach Charbonnet as my other running back. I've got Brandon Ayuk especially if Kittle's out, they may double cover, triple cover him, and that may be where Jawan Jennings finds his value at that low 4,000 number. But right now, I'm gonna go with Ayuk because that's really all they have. I've got Devontae Smith with AJ Brown out, and then I've got Brock Bowers at my tight end. I've got Tutu Atwell at my flex,
Yep.
and then I've got the Titans defense again.
Sir, baby. Titans D.
So
Tighten
that's
up.
kind of where I've landed. Now, my heart really wanted to go with Gardner Minshew, but I think I'm just going to ride the hot hand. Derek Carr pulling out the Michael Jackson stops in the end zone. I mean, why not? He's hot. He's the number two.
Why not, man?
He's the number 2 quarterback in fantasy right now. So I think you got to let it ride. Just see what happens. Now it could
That's
burn
a
me
fact.
completely. But I think why not? I think
Why not?
that's my play this week. And kind of going back, we always talk about core four, and we forgot to hit on that a little bit. You just mentioned yours. Kind of my core four that I'm building around this week is Derek Carr, partner with Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, and then Jordan Mason is a must play.
Yeah, I
for
like
the San
those,
Francisco
yeah.
49ers. Those are my 4 right now. And actually, when you look at their values, Derek Carr 5,800, Chris Olave 6,300, Brandon Ayuk 6,200, Jordan Mason 6,200. None of those are going to absolutely stretch you,
Pause.
which allowed me to kind of go and get a tight end that I see some value in, right? And then allow you to kind of reach a little higher on that flex with Tutu Atwell at 4,300. Because, like you said, your spreadsheet's generating a month, or kind of looking at one of the spreadsheets, like I was kind of messing around with it too. It threw out the tight end for.
Not gonna. I'm sorry. Not
What
gonna
was the
stretch
tight-
you. Is it? Not gonna stretch you is insane.
Well, just you can replay that later on the TikTok channel. But I just feel like there's value in those guys, and there we go. We've been derailed now. I told you.
Sorry.
I just see the value in kind of. I mean, you look at Olave, you look at Ayuk, and you look at Mason, all tier 1 guys, but all at a mid-tier price, right? We got 2 receiver ones right now with Debo out, and then Jordan Mason playing the CMC role. He's the poor man CMC, but he's doing well. I mean, he's doing good enough.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at and where I've landed on my core 4 for the week. We'll see how it plays out, but I'm kind of liking it so far. But I liked my lineup last week, and I won nothing. So take that as you will.
Hey, but hold
So-
on. Did you die on your sword though? Did you
Oh, I
die with the
did.
players? You can live with it. Did you live with it?
I did.
Okay. All right.
Danny
Well, you
Dimes.
have nothing to be ashamed of. You have nothing to be ashamed of, Britton.
I do. I'm embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed.
So we kind of talked a little bit about everything, right? But obviously, we want to talk about some of the specific games. Kind of highlight 2 or 3 that you're looking forward to watching, or that you think there could be some hidden values in these games coming up this weekend. And just as a kind of recap to freshen up your mind, because you probably don't have it right in front of you, but you have Indianapolis at Chicago. You've got Tampa Bay at Denver, Tennessee at Green Bay, Minnesota at Houston, Pittsburgh at the Chargers, Cleveland at the New York Giants, New Orleans versus Philadelphia. That I will say that game right there makes me a little bit nervous, because I know that the Saints defense is pretty solid. Jalen Hurts hasn't been playing great. Now his fantasy numbers have been good, but he hasn't really been playing that great. He's had quite a few turnovers already to start the season, so I'm a little bit worried about that game. But you also have Las Vegas versus Carolina Panthers, Seattle versus Miami, Dallas versus Baltimore. 2 big teams that really need to win. And then you've got Arizona versus Detroit, and the Rams versus the 49ers. So that's kind of your afternoon slate. Out of those, is there anything that kind of stand out to you specifically?
So I like the Lions and the Cardinals. I foresee that game being a high-scoring game. Some good, not amazing value in those games. Like Jameson Williams has kind of been priced up since he's had a couple good weeks. Murray's been going up. I liked him a lot the first 2 weeks, but he's kind of getting close to getting priced out. Amon-Ra, he's expensive.
Yeah.
You got to take a chance on the Lions running backs, because they're both priced in the 6,000 range, and David Montgomery's a touchdown machine, but Gibbs is a pass catcher. So I like that game in terms of high output, in terms of total
Yeah,
points between the two
absolutely.
teams, but those are all dart throws. You got to if you're gonna pick one of
Yeah,
those guys, you better be really confident because if it gets out of hand, or there's a lot of mouths to feed and a lot of players that are priced up really high. So
yeah,
it's very possible you pick one of those guys and they dud out, and then you've wasted a big chunk of your salary on somebody
no
at
doubt.
running back or receiver. And then these next two are really just they're they're from a fantasy perspective, and not much as it can be a good game. Vegas and the Panthers. I think Vegas will get out pretty early on the Panthers. But if Dalton can keep it close, that could be one of those really high scoring games.
Yeah,
Raiders have a decent defense. Panthers defense is trash, but
yeah,
if they could get it cooking in Carolina, keep it close competitive, you'll get some good production from a really cheap quarterback.
hmm,
And then Rams 49ers. I think there's a lot of value for the Rams at receiver with Atwell and Johnson and Robinson. They're going to be down pretty much the entirety of the game. So
yeah,
I like the Rams values more than I like the 49ers values from my perspective. But I still think the 49ers have a great amount of value in Ayuk and Mason.
yeah.
So that game I think is stacked with a lot of good plays. And
Mhm.
those are my three that I'm picking some players from those games, hoping there'll be some high
Yeah,
scores.
no, I like it. I'm kind of with you on Las Vegas and Panthers. I think there's going to be a couple touchdowns thrown by Minshew, so I think there's values there. Um, Arizona Detroit's going to be a high scoring affair, I feel like. So I kind of had that one highlighted as well, and you've already hit on that one. And then the other one that I'm curious about is the New Orleans versus Philadelphia matchup. I can see that score being 35-24, or I could see that score being 17-14. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. That's one I'm going to keep an eye on for like just to kind of see which direction that goes. Because if it ends up being high scoring, man, that Derek Carr, that Olave, that Devontae Smith, there's a lot of value that could be had. But I could also see it. That's a game I'm scared of because I could definitely see it going in a different direction too. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Well, I'll
that's
tell
one
you
I'm
this:
definitely keeping an eye on.
The Saints defense has been playing well, but from a cornerback perspective, they don't have Lattimore,
Mm,
so they have Paulson Adebo, who's been a really good corner. Tyrann Matthews, kind of a veteran. The defense in New Orleans is pretty good. Evidence of the Dallas game, they did a really good job kind of holding Dallas down.
yeah,
But Eagles will probably have a more versatile attack. I'll say with Saquon and Hurts
yeah,
and Devontae Smith. So it's not a bad play. And also the Phillies defense, man, they've drafted some corners, but I just don't think they're not producing at this point. They're too young. So yeah, I agree
yeah,
with you on that game. That could be a really high scoring game.
yeah. So, kind of as we're wrapping up, I've got a couple questions I wanted to ask you. I'm putting you on the spot here.
All right.
I need to know what do you think about Tank Dell? Like, is he still coming off the injury? Like, is there still value there, or is he kind of in all the mouths to feed? He's the least. He's the raw.
Yeah.
He's the one that's not going to eat. I don't know what to
Yeah.
do with him because he's still priced out in the five
He's
thousand
priced
range.
out for me. Yeah, he's priced out for
Yeah.
me at 5,000. That's 15 points, somewhere around there. Collins is questionable with a hamstring this week, but he practiced, and I think there's not really any fear of him missing the game.
Okay.
So, like once again, I only really trust Tank Dell if maybe Collins goes out and it's just him and Diggs.
Yeah.
Because if you could get him at 5,500 as the second option, then I do
Right.
like that. But as a third option, he's one of those separating dart throws where you take a chance. He catches a long touchdown and
Yeah.
he separates you from everybody else. But at the same time, he could put you up 5 points
Yeah.
and dud you.
I'm just not sure what to do with him because you could tell they were trying
Yeah.
to find a way to get him involved last week with some
Yeah.
sweeps running the ball, but it just seems like he's the last in the pecking order, and I'm just not sure what to do with him.
Yeah.
So he was kind of one I had a question on. I just had no idea, and then kind of second tier here. I want to look at the Titans for just a second.
Hell yeah.
Obviously, I know you're in Nashville, so you have a little bit
Yeah.
of you're watching the games, you're around the news up there. DeAndre Hopkins, is he done? Is
He
he
was
done?
hurt. No, he went into the season with a knee injury that he got in the preseason. I don't know why he's playing, honestly. He doesn't look good. He looks slow, like he can't really cut on it, and I think it's hindering him. I think he's still got it, but he's fighting through something right now, and it's honestly I feel like it's going to catch up to him. And as a Titans fan, I'm going to say we don't need him to get hurt even more and miss more games, but they are 0-2, so I could see if they lose this weekend to the Packers, maybe he takes a couple weeks off and they start trying to get healthy for maybe a late run at the end of the season. But I think it's honestly might be doing more harm than good because he can't really get any separation. He used to thrive on deep shots and catching over people in one-on-one coverage, and I don't think he's able to get down the field or really make those explosive plays. I think they're not taking shots to him, I'll tell you that. They've been taking shots at Ridley and Traylon Burks. They haven't really been going at Hopkins, so I think he's been kind of hindered by that.
And then the last question for you. Are you out on Mayonnaise Boy yet?
Oh man, they called that play against the.
That was one of the worst laterals, passes, whatever that was.
I mean, which one do you want to talk about? Because he made another one last week that was even worse. I think like last week he was scrambling to his left, got tripped, and threw it backwards inside the 10-yard line, and the Jets recovered it, and they were up 7-0, and they could have went up 10 at that point. Coach Callahan just looked at him and said, "What the F are you doing?" And just like was so confused. And I was like, I was flabbergasted after they're calling that play. They're calling that play in Chicago the miracle flip. If you want a name for it, instead of miracle whip, they call it the miracle flip.
That's too good, dude.
Yeah, that was the joke on Titans radio the past 2 weeks. They've been riding Levis hard. Pause. No Diddy, but it's.
Dude, I'm out.
I'm not out on him yet. I'll answer your question. I'm not out on him yet because I watched the whole entire game, not just the lowlights. He makes some incredible passes, dude. His arm strength and talent is insane. He can drop a ball in a bucket or hit a penny off the top of somebody's head. But then like he freaks out at the first sign of trouble and tries to do too much, and I'm just hoping he can get out of it. The game last week wasn't as demoralizing as the Bears. When you lose a game to a team and the other team doesn't score an offensive touchdown, that is like the lowest of the lows. That's what happened against the Bears. So I'm not out on him yet. I'm giving him some grace because he honestly hasn't played much worse than Patrick Mahomes stat wise. If you look at the stats, now Patrick Mahomes is 2-0, but. I'm just saying, dude. If you look at Joe Burrow, same scenario. Joe Burrow played good last week, but week 1 he looked really bad. Yeah. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are playing bad. And Levis gets a lot of the heat because he does some really stupid stuff. But then if you look at the entirety of the game, he does some good stuff too. He was on top 10 this week.
Joe Burrow's bounce back week, by the way. He's not
in the afternoon
slate. He's not in the afternoon slate, but I definitely see this being his kind of coming to life.
Back.
Yeah, because they're actually on the Monday night game against the Commanders, and we've seen the Commanders defense look like Swiss cheese. Danny Dimes out.
Very true.
Out kicking his fantasy coverage as well as Baker Mayfield lighting him up. So I see Joe Burrow getting back to stride this game and kind of, like I said, I know he's on the afternoon slate, so we've been talking about, but I definitely see him having value if you're doing a full weekend Thursday to Monday slate of games. So, but that was kind of my questions. Just some stuff that's been stirring in my head for a couple of days now. But we'll kind of see. We'll see what happens in week 3. Hopefully, we've got some amazing highlights on TikTok because we did a great job and we're making cash money. But we'll see. We'll kind of keep you updated. And as always, check the TikTok channel for any kind of updates, especially like a Cam Akers, right? As we get closer to game time, see if he gets ruled out. That'll be a high-value guy. So continue to check out the TikTok channel. Continue to kind of see our updates as we get closer because we're filming this on a Thursday. But as we get closer to game time, check that out. But hopefully, you guys are doing great. You're following the blueprint, making a little money.
A little cash.
A little cash. But y'all have a great week 3. Happy hunting. Hopefully, it goes well for you.
Yep, sir. See you.